Testing. Okay. Okay, I'd like to go ahead and call the meeting to order. And just a few quick comments. Board members, please remember to speak into your turn on the microphones because we are live. There will be a lunch held immediately following the meeting in lieu of the reception that we've done in previous meetings. And with that, Kay, if you want to do a roll call vote just to see who's here.
Fleming. Geist.
Here.
Harper.
Here.
Oakley. Russell.
Here.
Sigardi. Stites.
Here.
Van Hooser.
Here.
Wilmore.
Here.
And Jones. You have a quorum physically present, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. I think first item on the agenda, item number 2, is approval of the minutes. We have all had them in our books. I assume that they have been read and reviewed. I need a motion to accept the approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Johnny Stites, do I have a second?
Second.
Teresa? So, okay. And just a reminder, because we have Perna, or not Perna, but we have Barry. Perna and Barbara are not in attendance, but Barry's online. We have to do a roll call vote for everything. So, go ahead, Kay.
Geist.
Here.
Aye. Harper.
Aye.
Oakley. Stites.
Aye.
Van Hooser.
Aye.
Wilmore.
Aye.
Jones.
Here. Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay. I think we are ready for Dr. Oldham for agenda item number 3, President's Report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Board. It's a pleasure to see you again. Good to have you all back on campus. It's a wonderful time of year. It's an exciting time of year. This is the first day of finals, so students are actively engaged all across campus in finishing up this semester's activities. Well, there we go. I think I need to go back. There we go. Starting out with this particular slide, just to indicate we had a wonderful event on campus 2 weeks ago tomorrow, the first ever lighting of the quad. And if you are available in the evening and drive by campus, you'll still have a chance to see the quad lit up at night. It's the first time we've done this. We had about 3,000 in attendance for the lighting event, primarily students, but a lot of faculty and staff as well, and community members. Really enjoyable evening, a lot of fun. Students seem to enjoy it a lot. So it's a great addition to our campus traditions. I think we look forward to doing this in future years as well. A couple things I will report to highlight to start with is and since Captain Wilmore is on the phone, I'm going to embarrass him just a little bit. We're really delighted to be able to announce that our own Barry Wilmore will be receiving the Theodore Roosevelt Award from the NCAA at the January annual convention of the NCAA. This is the highest award given by the NCAA. Barry is going to join a very elite group of individuals. The award's been given since 1967. There was 1 year that it was not awarded, so if my arithmetic is right, Barry will be the 50th awardee of this honor. It includes 4 former United States presidents, including Dwight Eisenhower, Gerald Ford, George H.W. Bush, and Ronald Reagan. As well as individuals such as Jesse Owens and Arnold Palmer. Our own, one other Tennessean at least is on the list. Lamar Alexander was a former recipient. And then there's individuals such as John Wooden and Roger Staubach. A couple of other former astronauts, Sally Ride and John Glenn, are honorees. So it's a very elite group of individuals. Barry is obviously the first from Tennessee Tech. He's also the first awardee from the Ohio Valley Conference. And so it's a great recognition for him, certainly well deserved, and great recognition for this institution as well. So we really congratulate Barry and look forward to that recognition being bestowed on him in January in Indianapolis at the annual convention. So congratulations, Barry. You got any comments?
Very kind words there, President Oldham. I appreciate that. I can tell you, I've known about this for a few months, and I am still speechless, absolutely speechless. But I appreciate the university for it. The university actually had to submit my name for the award, so I just honored by that and humbled by the whole thought of it. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Barry. Look forward to that. Also, some fairly breaking news. About a week ago now, the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools, Commission on Colleges, met for their annual meeting, and at that time, we, among a lot of other institutions, were up for final board approval for our governance change. That was approved at that point in time. So the long track from when the Focus Act began a couple of years ago, that's the final piece in the puzzle when the SACS board approved the governance change. So we're all official now, all the way through the entire process. So congratulations to everybody involved. We had a lot of individuals here on campus. Dr. Sharon Ho out of the provost's office and many others that participated in making sure that we dotted all those I's and crossed all those T's. So I appreciate all their efforts along that end. As far as my report, I'll try to hit on a few things real quick here. First of all, major capital projects. Quick update. We've now broken ground on the Lab Sciences building. That took place a little over a month ago, homecoming week. That project is well underway now, along with the new student recreation center. So the entire sort of southwest corner of campus is behind fence, and a lot of heavy dirt moving and site preparation work is going on. So a lot of activity in that regard. The Road and University Center is under major renovation. That will be completed approximately early next fall. So there's a lot of work going on, particularly on the back side of the University Center at this point in time. We've also now completed the West Campus parking lot, and that parking lot was essential due to the first two projects there, the Lab Sciences building and the Student Recreation Center, to replace a lot of the parking and provide additional parking opportunities for students in particular, based on those projects going forward. But all those projects are going along pretty much as scheduled, and we're excited about those progressing. Enrollment, we got some good news to share in terms of enrollment factors. This is the largest freshman class this fall since we last met back at the end of the summer. We anticipated a good freshman class, but I'm happy to report that this is the largest freshman class since prior to Tennessee Promise taking effect. We saw about a 10% increase in freshmen year to year from last year, over 1,760 new freshmen. Transfer students were also up about 11%, which is a healthy sign. We would expect to see more transfer students in this post-Tennessee Promise environment where more students are opting to go to community college first, and so this is also a very healthy sign. Our first-year retention rate continues to be very strong at approximately 79%. It's about the same place it was the year before. Those are historic highs for retention here at Tennessee Tech. And at the same time, we recognize the largest graduating class in Tennessee Tech history this past year of over 2,500 graduates. and I'll get to this in a moment, but that also was highlighted earlier this morning with THEC's report on the funding formula and how well we performed in that regard, and a lot of that was based on graduations. There we go. Oops. See if I can go back. All right, so the total student body right now is about 10,500 students. Interestingly, we remain a majority male institution. That's a little different than most institutions like us, 54% male. We do have a diversity population of 18% that's non-white. That includes African American, Hispanic, as well as international. But we're pretty broad-based in that regard. We represent 93 of the 95 counties in Tennessee, 35 states, and 65 countries. So there is certainly a diverse environment here on campus to build on. The freshman class maintains very high marks in terms of academic performance, about a 3.6 average high school GPA and a 24.4 average ACT score. So it's a very sound academic group. The largest number of students with composite ACTs of above 30 in the history of the institution. So very strong academic class.
How does that GPA compare to other universities in Tennessee?
It would be, I think, don't hold me to this, but it's probably, our academic profile is typically about second only to UT Knoxville's in terms of public institutions. So it would probably fall in that category. I don't know exactly where everybody falls right at the moment, but that's about where it would be. So the 3-year average bachelor degree change, you saw this earlier today from the THEC presentation. You see that over the last 3 years we've increased our bachelor's degree production by 20% here at Tennessee Tech, which is a significant achievement actually, and a real testimony to a lot of those student success measures that were put in place a few years ago. And the recommended appropriation increase, due largely to that improvement, puts us at the top of the group in terms of all of the former TBR institutions, locally governed institutions, what we'd be referred to now, but an additional 6.5% increase in state appropriation is being proposed for this year of approximately $3 million. So, you know, doing the right things not only pay off for those students, but ultimately are reflected in the funding formula, which is a positive indication. Another thing that's going on right now is touring the state. Tech is Tennessee tour. We initiated that earlier this fall. I think this picture was actually from Clark Range High School during our visit there a couple of months ago. We have now toured, we will be touring all 95 Tennessee counties. We've done 11 counties so far here in the Upper Cumberland, visiting all the public high schools in those 11 counties. We should finish up the last 3 Upper Cumberland counties here in the next week or so, and then we will be moving on into probably more of the Metro Nashville area next semester. We've been listening to students, talking to students. It's one of the greatest things that I've had an opportunity to do this semester, is really meet with some of these high school students and get a chance to visit with them and encourage them for their future. We've talked to teachers, guidance counselors, principals, and some takeaways from that. Although you see some differences based on the particular high school and the environment, but there are a lot of common themes. We continue to see a dramatic need for math and science and foreign language teachers, particularly here in the Upper Cumberland area. It's something that we're working with our College of Education to try to address in a significant way, and appreciate all the efforts that they're making. We're also hearing a lot about the impact of Tennessee Promise. and how we fit into that, how we're perceived among these high schools and their leadership, and the opportunities that are being created because of that, which are significant actually. It is making a difference. And it's simply reinforcing the effect, the impact that campus visits can have, and making sure that we provide a welcoming environment on this campus for students from the high schools to come visit and really get a feel for what life is like here. A lot of what we're doing in these visits at the high schools, particularly here in the Upper Cumberland, is just building up and reestablishing existing relationships, making sure that neither of us take each other for granted, making sure that the high schools know that we're here and we're not necessarily the same Tennessee Tech that they knew of 5, 10, or 15 years ago, but we're continuing to make improvements and move forward as well. It's being received extremely well. So now we're kind of shifting into, the story, telling our story about differentiation and distinctiveness. The fact that we provide value, we provide the best return on investment of any public university in the state of Tennessee. We were ranked again as #1 among public universities for ROI by Money Magazine. We are creating an environment where students want to be, and we are preparing now a strategic plan that will lead us boldly into that future. So it's my pleasure right now to turn the rest of my presentation over to the leaders of that strategic plan, Dr. Tom Payne and Dr. Lisa Zagumny, Deans in Business and Education. They're leading the strategic planning committee, and they'll give you some more insight into where that process is at the moment, and then I'll come back briefly for a little bit of a summary at the end.
Good morning.
Good morning, y'all. Thank you, Dr. Old.
In August, President Oldham convened a 15-member strategic planning committee and charged us to assess and embrace the tremendous change facing higher education. We were also tasked with developing a directional framework that provides value for our constituents and leverages our strengths to distinguish Tech from other universities across the nation and state.
So during the past 3 months, committee members have met with more than 400 stakeholders through a variety of forums and interviews. Students, alumni, faculty, staff, business and community leaders, and others have provided information. Those discussions are continuing and will continue into the spring as stakeholder engagement guides the committee in the development of a clear and cohesive vision and a substantive framework for action.
The current mission statement is 280 words long and points out every program, degree level, center of excellence, region, and dimension of diversity. What we are learning from our conversations is that stakeholders are supportive of a more refined mission that, while inclusive, will be more intentional regarding who Tech is and what we can and should do. To achieve that end, we will need to lead with our values, clarify our purpose, and communicate our distinctiveness.
So a new vision is emerging, and we're also learning that our vision should be sharpened and straightforwardly describe our aspirational intentions.
From the conversations to date, the following are focus areas that are emerging, and these are the 3 boxes at the bottom of the page. Infuse and leverage technology and analytics. President Oldham's initial charge to the committee included finding technology at the core of change and adding value for those we serve. Hundreds of conversations have validated and strengthened that charge, and we are responding to it.
Okay, so we're going to tell you a little bit about what that means across each of these emerging focus areas. So for this one, emerging focus area that's on leveraging technology, information, and analytics. We are understanding that employers need graduates who are not only technologically dependent, but they're also technologically and analytically savvy. So we would like for every tech graduate, and we're deliberately planning this, every tech graduate, regardless of their major, will possess relevant, analytically based reasoning and problem-solving skills. In addition, we will challenge each of our colleges to create a technological and analytically based trademark program of excellence. When it comes to the application of technology to problem solving, we are Tennessee Tech, and we will own that space. The initial focus area includes another dialogue, and it is an emerging goal as well under this heading, to relentlessly pursue operational excellence. And Lisa, I think I can safely say that this was one that was pointed out several times in our conversations here on campus. We believe that an improvement in process effectiveness and efficiency and empowering people to make those changes will both enhance quality and decrease cost.
The second concept, the middle box at the bottom, this prepare globally adept career-ready graduates. This stems from the fact that student learning is best realized through hands-on activities and collaboration with others. For this reason, we will create and expand relevant and collaborative experiential learning opportunities. That is, every tech student will engage in a substantive and increasingly challenging experiential learning opportunity every year. This concept also revolves around the idea that we hire, reward, and develop people with a proclivity and passion for experiential learning and collaboration, as well as develop a proactive framework to realize diversity to bolster global preparedness.
The last area that is emerging as far as our focus strategy is to provide accessible and relevant lifelong learning opportunities. Providing accessibility and relevant learning opportunities is emerging, as high quality and relevant programs must also be accessible programs. If they're not accessible, they're not going to make a difference in the lives of people or provide a more educated workforce for our region and our state. While accessibility entails the increased use of online and hybrid delivery systems, it also creates value for our constituents in other ways. For example, it will facilitate clearer pathways through relationships with high schools, community colleges, and other post-secondary institutions. And in addition to traditional degrees, these pathways will include certificate programs and sequenced, or in the vernacular of higher ed, stackable credentials. Increased relevance, effectiveness, and efficiency will also be achieved through transdisciplinary collaboration across departments and across colleges, and with partnerships with external organizations.
We plan to circle back to the groups that we've already spoken with, including individual members of the board, as we continue to develop the plan. We are excited about bringing more people into the conversation and look forward to the March board meeting when we will present a more formalized plan. Thanks, and we're open to questions.
When you said you were going to, I think it was in the second, prepare globally adept career-ready graduates.
Yeah.
One of the comments you made was that you were going to hire and reward people who contribute toward that end.
Right.
How are you going to reward the superstars that you hire in the tenure system that we currently have?
Great question. And that cuts right to our HR area and our performance evaluations. One idea, and this was actually discussed in the committee because we know that as we get to action and tactics, that we're going to have to address those issues. In other words, how to operationalize some of these aspirations. So we look at, just give you an example. As we're hiring folks across the academic units, typically we're looking for outstanding teaching. We look for that. We look for outstanding research in whatever field or discipline and however that may present itself. We look for that. We look for people who we think would get along well with the folks in our various departments and that type of thing. What we may not have globally looked for are people that specifically either bring experiences with them that they can demonstrate that they want to get out and engage, whether that's with organizations, with businesses, with all types of folks in the community, that they want to engage with them and they want their students to engage with them. If they don't, those are not the types of people that we need at Tennessee Tech. And so we can find other people with great research and great teaching who also have a proclivity and a demonstrated ability to interact and engage students. So as we do that, and to your question, we have to build that in to our reward system. We have to say that substantive engagement with students and connecting students with our external constituents is something that we're about. And so in that, we have to reward, right along with some of these other things that we've traditionally done, that aspect of behavior and action within whether that's within a department, whether that's within an operating unit, wherever it is on our campus.
Thank you.
Trudy?
That was a great question, by the way, Johnny.
Right.
My question was about, you made the comment about I can't say that word, experiential learning. And if I understood you right, you intend to incorporate that in every year of the student's experience here? So even as a freshman,
Yes.
I might have an opportunity for that? Can you give me an example of something like that? It sounds terrific, by the way. And all of this, by the way, sounds terrific. As long as my mic is open, I'll say. This really sounds exciting.
Thanks. We've got a great committee, and we've talked with lots of folks, so we have lots of input. An example would be our teacher education programs. That first year that we have students who are interested in becoming a teacher, they have field placements out in schools working with in-service teachers. So they have that opportunity from the first semester to make sure that that's a profession they're interested in pursuing. And so they know what that really is on the ground, right? We've all been a student in a classroom, so we tend to think, oh, we know what teachers do, but it's a little different from the other side. So that would be just one example of building that over the course of each year of their program of study. So our students in education would have that. And I'm sure that there are lots of other disciplines across campus that have something similar. I would imagine nursing gets their students into those field placements early on. So, yeah.
It's a great example. And you know, I'm glad, Trudy, you asked the question because it gives us an opportunity to express this as well, that these are every year, but they're also cumulative. And so this would be really a stepwise, a move forward. So in the first year, they may have exposure type experiences, awareness type experiences with regard to what types of businesses or what types of careers they may be interested in. That might include, we had an opportunity to visit with Perna, that might include a speaker series that they're exposed during that freshman year to all kinds of opportunities and ideas as they develop these skills for, as you saw in the vision statement, for problem solving. And then orienting them in the right way and then stacking their experiences on top of each other. So those would lead up to more advanced and deeper experiences that might include the clinicals or might include things that they're actually getting out in the field through internships or co-op experiences or international travel, that type of thing. So you can envision how that would be a plan for a student when they hit the door as they progress through freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year, that when they finish, they truly are career ready, and that we do want to express to them that that's commencement it's commencement for a reason, right, Lisa? That's where it starts. So we know that lifelong learning also needs to be instilled in their thinking.
want to thank Tom and Lisa for all their effort, and along with the entire strategic planning committee. They're doing a fabulous job, as you can say. The timing, the synergy here between timing and planning and messaging and action is really important, and I don't think the timing could be any better. You know, with you as a new board, having an opportunity to really weigh in on the strategic directioning of the campus, I think is extremely important. And so that's one reason we wanted to make sure that you got an intermediate update on where the planning was going and what the conversation looked like at this point in time. So hopefully we stay on schedule, which we should. At the March meeting, you should be getting a pretty much a final view of what that committee has come up with in terms of a strategic plan, and give you guys a chance to really dig into it. So appreciate all their effort. But just to give you a quick update, you know, and this was brought up at the last meeting about, you know, we don't always have the luxury of taking out a lot of time to do strategic planning. We've got to act. We've got to continue to act progressively, and we are doing that. To this effect, we are, as you heard earlier, we are taking steps to add significant muscle horsepower into our IT-related disciplines on campus. 3 different colleges, in the College of Engineering with Computer Science, College of Business with Data Sciences, Decision Sciences, and also in the College of Education in Curriculum and Instruction, in hiring about a dozen new faculty positions over the next 3 years in those disciplines related directly to those IT career paths, and make sure we enhance our leadership position in the state of Tennessee in those areas as the economy moves in that direction significantly. And you heard a lot of that messaging already coming out from the strategic planning effort. We're also continuing to move on some key searches for upper level leadership. The Provost Search Committee has already conducted airport interviews with about a dozen candidates, and is moving forward toward campus interviews with a smaller group scheduled for early this next semester in January. That search appears to be going very well and on schedule. The Vice President for Enrollment and Career Placement search hit a little bit of a snag. We had a preferred candidate that we were in the process of finalizing that offer, and at the last minute lost the candidate to his current institution. And so it kind of highlights the competitiveness of these efforts, and the fact that in some cases we need to be able to move fairly quickly and expeditiously along that line.
Just to comment on that, I mean, as we deliberated quite a bit on, I guess, board approval of appointments or hires, and, you know, the way our policy stands, the executive committee must meet to make those approvals. And so, you know, when we first found out about this candidate, and Dr. Oldham contacted me and said, okay, well, the executive committee has to meet quickly. And so we tried to do that as fast as possible. But even in an executive committee meeting, finding the 3 of us in town and available can be challenging, but there's still a 2-week notification. Now, I'm not saying that if we had not had that 2 weeks, we would have been able to get this hire, but I did interview him, and I am disappointed we missed the opportunity. I'm not suggesting we revisit that policy now, but it does just certainly highlight the need for expeditious decisions at times for, I guess, worthy candidates.
Mm-hmm.
So enough said about it, but just to keep that in mind.
In that particular case, we're rebooting that search. We have a list of names now that we're beginning to pursue, and so we're kind of doubling back and seeing what we can find in that regard.
The point was he had given a verbal acceptance,
mm-hmm.
and we allowed enough time for his current university to up the offer.
The last point I will make, really, to Trustee Steitz's comment about how to reward faculty, in particular differentially, performance-wise. I've recently put together a committee of about 14 individuals to look at faculty compensation, workload, and evaluation comprehensively. I think this is the first time, at least in a number of years, where a comprehensive look at those issues has been attempted. I think it's a really good group of individuals, and that's going to be chaired by Mark Stevens, the interim provost, and co-chaired by Dr. Darrell Hoy, the interim dean of College of Engineering. I appreciate everybody being willing to serve in that capacity, but our intent would be to, by the March meeting, to come back with some proposals for the board on how we would move forward in terms of not only sort of normalizing workloads and evaluations among faculty on campus, but also to hopefully set some fairly strategic and aggressive compensation goals for where we want to go as a university to not only reward our faculty appropriately for the level of effort that they provide currently, but also to continue to attract the very best faculty we possibly can to come to Tennessee Tech. So that's going to be the charge to this group, and I look forward to seeing what they come back with and move us forward. Because clearly to reach these strategic goals that are being identified, we need to have a very strategic and robust mechanism for reward structure on campus. So,
sorry. Is the membership of that committee on the web anywhere, or
it's not yet. It will
okay.
be. Just real quick, I requested 4 names from the Faculty Senate that were provided. I also requested 4 names from the existing Faculty Compensation Committee, and then I completed the committee with some at-large members to sort of make sure that we had all the bases covered. So that's where the names came from. But yeah, we'll be publishing that list shortly. And Mr. Chairman, that's my report. I'll be glad to answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you. Okay,
Thanks.
we'll move along. The next item on the agenda is just an update on the status of the contract for the president. And just as a reminder, the last board meeting, the executive committee was tasked to start drafting a contract. No guarantee that the contract will be successful, but I just want to report I've met with Kay, I don't know, a few times, and we do have a draft contract. It has been reviewed and edited, and she has also met independently with Johnny and Trudy and reviewed that contract. We are not ready to present that contract today. The executive committee will be meeting again in January where we can all get together and review it again. Just one point about it. I mean, I guess there seem to be misconceptions and perceptions about what this type of employment contract would be. In general, you know, I guess in normal business world, I'm not a huge fan of employment contracts, but this is a different entity. I mean, this is a university. And I think when, I don't know, my understanding is that something like 80% or so of universities have contracts with their presidents, and I completely understand the need for it to provide stability for the university and stability for the president. It does not contain, you know, performance goals and requirements and that sort of thing. Those are things that we do every year annually. The main purpose of the contract is really the exit strategy. It's to protect the university and the president should either one of us get unhappy. And so it's not a long contract, but I think it does address some important things that are missing. And the goal is to give our president the confidence to move forward with things like this strategic plan. So anyway, that's enough of the report on that. I did want to say, though, President, thank you very much for the report and also your staff on the strategic plan. And I greatly appreciate the expeditious manner that they're moving forward. I think that's a great thing about it. I mean, strategic plans have a tendency sometimes to drag on forever, but this is moving along, and it seems to be right on target. And I think that's greatly needed and appreciated. So, anyway.
Do you know,
Yes.
back to the idea of the contract, Do we know how many of the LGIs, how many of the presidents have contracts?
I don't know the specific number, I don't, okay.
I'm not aware at the moment of any. I think the issues are under discussion at each of the LGIs. It's my understanding.
I do know there are other boards talking about these types of things. You know, how it'll play out, I don't know. So
And the approval process for the contract, is that a full board?
it'll be full
approval or-
board. I mean, the executive committee, we will review it, deliberate it, and there's no guarantee it'll even be brought to the full board. But if it's brought to the full board, then it'll come before the full board.
I just would be curious to know, just in the state of Tennessee, in general, the LGIs definitely, who has a contract, who's pursuing, what's it look like? I'd like to see maybe examples of others.
I will certainly make those inquiries. I'm not sure that I'll get a fulsome answer from each of the institutions, but I'm happy to make those inquiries.
I mean, we didn't draft it all from scratch. I mean, you've got to look at what's been done and what's standard practice, and that's what Kay's done. So I was impressed by the effort, so, yeah. Okay, we are ready for item number 5, Audit and Business Committee Report and Recommendations. So the first thing is the consent agenda. I think this morning we had the committee meeting. There are 3 items on the consent agenda: Policy 570, Policy 571, and Policy 563.1. Teresa?
So, Mr. Chairman, upon the committee's recommendation, I move the board approve all items on the Audit and Business Committee's consent agenda as you identified.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion made by
Second.
Teresa. Johnny made a second. We have a roll call vote.
Geist,
Aye.
Harper,
Aye.
Oakley, Stites,
Aye.
Van Hooser,
Aye.
Wilmore.
Aye.
Captain Wilmore, if I could at this moment, I failed to ask some questions that I needed to for electronic communication. Could you confirm that you can simultaneously hear and speak to the committee members?
I can.
Would you identify any person present at the location from which you are calling in?
No one but me.
And would you please confirm that you received the committee materials, the board materials in advance of the meeting?
I did indeed.
All right, thank you. Jones?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Motion carries. Thank you. So moving on with the regular agenda, we have tab 5.2.1, approval of the 2017-18 October revised budget and organizational chart. Again, this is brought up from the Audit and Business Committee. So, Teresa?
Mr. Chairman, the committee reviewed and recommends approval of the Tennessee Tech's 2017 October revised budget and organizational chart, and I move that the board approve the recommended budget and organizational chart.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Millard?
Second.
Millard has a second. So we have a motion and a second. I think everyone was here for discussion this morning, but is there any other comments or questions? So, all in favor of the
We need
motion?
a roll call vote.
Thank you, Kay. Go ahead.
Geist,
Aye.
Harper,
Aye.
Oakley, Stites,
Aye.
Van Hooser,
Aye.
Wilmore,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
7 ayes.
So motion carries. So we're up to tab 5.2.2, severance of procurement capital projects. Again, this item was discussed and deliberated this morning in the committee. So Teresa, do you have a motion?
Yes. Upon the committee's recommendation, I move the board approve Tennessee Tech's severance of procurement upon approval of this board and severance of capital planning and management effective July 1st, 2018.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Johnny Stites.
Second.
We did discuss this morning. Any other comments, questions? Okay, please, roll call.
Geist,
Aye.
Harper,
Aye.
Oakley, Stites,
Aye.
Van Hooser,
Aye.
Wilmore,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
7 ayes.
So a motion carries. Thank you. We're up to tab 5.2.3, Disclosed Food Services Project. Again, it was discussed this morning. Teresa?
Upon the committee's recommendation, I move the board approve the disclosed food services project.
We have a second?
Second.
Judy, second. So we have a motion, we have a second. Any other comments, questions?
I just had a question. I think that there was a dollar amount on that, on this. It was maybe $3 million or, so are we, with this, are we saying that Tennessee Tech is going to put $3 million towards these food service changes? I just want to make
Okay.
sure.
Yeah, I'd call on Dr. Stinson to address that, but the answer is no.
No, the new contract has those dollars identified as capital investments that Chartwells will make into our food services facilities.
I have a question, Claire, if you could answer for us. What do we have to evaluate the performance of the food service people over the term of the contract, and what are the metrics that they need to meet in those evaluations? And is it permissible by this contract we're considering to terminate for failure to perform?
We do have a provision to terminate for failure to perform, or just because the university elects to. There's also a provision that they can notify us. Of course, that's a more extensive period of time for notification, simply because of the nature of the operations. As far as evaluating the performance, we do surveys with students. We have a student group primarily. It does have a couple of staff on that that meets with them to talk about what improvements, that type of thing, that the students would like to see us bring forward.
So if we approve this contract, which includes an expenditure of $3 million, is there a provision that requires us to reimburse them should their contract be canceled, say, 6 months or a year into the contract?
How these work is they do depreciate that investment over the terms of the contract. So if there was some dollars that had not been depreciated, then it would become a part of the new contract negotiations with a new vendor.
Thank you.
And so just one more, of those $3 million, all of those changes, that is coming from Chartwells and not from, I know that there was, at one point, there was maybe a proposal, I can't remember the details, but it was maybe from student fees or from, and so I just want to make sure that.
I know what you're actually speaking on,
Yeah.
and so there are some provisions for us to do some additional food venues that is contingent upon implementing a refundable plan for commuter students. That is not a part of what we have agreed with them we're going to do at this point. That is something that we will have extensive discussions with our students before we move forward with that. And but this is a 10-year, it is a revenue contract, so it is a 10-year contract, and so there are, several proposals in there. And with this $3 million, I just want to be clear, they cannot do anything that we have not already approved. So they, even though we had disclosed it, we're disclosing it to the State Building Commission, but it still has to go through our processes, and their projects individually we would submit those for implementation. So it just gets it out there so that we can move on it. It does not approve any particular project.
Thank you. With no further discussion, okay, roll call vote.
Geist,
Aye.
Harper,
Aye.
Oakley, Stites,
No.
Van Hooser,
Aye.
Wilmore,
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
6 ayes, 1 nay.
Motion carries. Agenda item number 6, approval of academic affairs policies. Just a quick comment. In looking at the schedule for the board meeting, I guess a month or so ago, we were looking at whether or not to have an academic affairs committee meeting this morning. And at that time, there was really only one item on the agenda, which is approval of a letter of notification. And so we decided not to have that committee meeting. Since that time, there were 2 other policies that came up that needed to be updated. Normally, they would have gone through committee first and then gone to the board, full board consent agenda. But since we didn't have the committee meeting, we are taking these 2 items up by the full board now. It's probably a little more expeditiously to do it that way anyway. Everybody has a chance to weigh in. So with that, Dr. Stevens, there are 2 policies here, policy 224 and 225.
Right. And as you mentioned, we did not have a academic and student affairs committee. So I have spoken with the chair of the academic and student affairs committee and with each member of the committee individually regarding the 2 policies, and went over the proposed changes, and all were supportive of those changes. So policy 224, academic program notifications. This policy is revised to align with the THEC policy related to the notification of academic actions.
And we have it in our books.
And
Is there any
the
other?
policies are in the board book.
Okay. Any other questions for Dr. Stevens on policy?
Just for the board to know too, I think all of these policies have also gone through the academic university councils, so they've gone through all the faculty councils on campus as well, just so the board members know.
Yeah, they've been through the internal institutional approval process.
Okay. Is there any point or do you want to cover 225 as well, and we'll take them up as a group?
That will be fine. This policy is also revised to align with the THEC policy on new academic programs, and there was just some very minor wording changes in this policy.
Okay. Do we have a motion to accept both policy 224 and policy 225?
Mr. Chairman, I move
I
the
so
board.
motion.
Sorry, that's better.
I'm sorry, Barry, go ahead.
No, I spoke inadvertently. Disregard.
Okay. Melissa, you were on that committee. Do you want to make that motion?
Yeah, make a motion to approve the 2 policies presented by the provost.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
I'll second.
I think Teresa beat him. Okay. So we have a motion. We have a second. Any other questions? So we may roll call vote.
Geist,
Aye.
Harper,
Aye.
Oakley, Stites, Van Hooser,
Aye.
Wilmore,
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay, motion carries. So we're ready for agenda item number 7. This is board approval of a letter of notification for PhD in counseling and supervision. Dr. Stevens, tell us about it.
Correct. I have also spoken with the chair of Academic and Student Affairs Committee and with each of the committee members individually regarding this letter of notification. And it has been recommended that this go forward to the board for a vote to approve the submission of this letter of notification for a new PhD program in counseling and supervision in the Department of Psychology and in the College of Education.
Mark, you mind just clarifying for all the board members the process and what this step is in the process.
Okay. This is a preliminary step. The way the approval process works for a new degree and a new PhD in particular is the faculty get together, put together a proposal, which is a modified version in the form of what's called a letter of notification, and it goes through to the department chair, the dean, to the provost, and then I bring it to you as for review. And the letter of notification is in some ways like an executive summary. It is a brief description of the kind of program that this department wishes to create. It is not the full proposal. And then this, if the board is supportive, if they look at this and see that this is indeed an appropriate degree at both level and content for Tennessee Tech, that they want us to pursue a more detailed proposal, then you would vote to submit the letter to THEC. THEC will review the letter and they will make a similar determination if it fits with the scope and role of Tennessee Tech. And they will also, because it's a PhD program, they will send it out to the presidents of all the other universities for their review to see if it conflicts with anything that they're doing. And then upon approval, we have 2 years to develop the full program proposal, at which time that proposal would be created by the faculty and it would go through our full institutional approval process from the faculty to the College Curriculum Committee. In this case, it's a PhD, so it would go to the Graduate Studies Executive Committee and then to the Academic Council. And then from there, the president would submit it to the board, or we would submit it to the board here for full approval, at which time, if you approve it, then it would go to THEC for final approval.
Thank you. Melissa, would you like to make a motion on this?
I move that the board approve the letter of notification for the PhD in counseling and supervision.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Barry. Okay, you want to have a vote?
Guys?
I'm
Aye.
sorry, Jerry. Johnny, go ahead.
Dr. Stevens, I was wondering if you could explain what how's the supervisory part different from the program that's at TSU, where they just have counseling?
It's a different type of licensure program, and so the requirements for the degree are different. They have a somewhat different role, I think, in terms of what those graduates are able to do.
Is there a demand for this particular degree and doctoral degree?
Very much so, especially in our area and in rural areas in general. There is really a lack of trained professionals who are able to do this type of counseling,
So
both for individuals and in schools.
could you dumb it down just a little bit and help me to understand what is the unique discipline this offers the marketplace that the school psychology and counseling psychology does not offer? I just don't, I'm trying to understand
Well,
what it is.
Okay, that's outside of my particular field of expertise, but my understanding is that that's for a different type of licensure and what you're able to do in terms of who you're able to counsel and at what level and what type.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question, and it's very general. It's really not applying to this particular program at all. And I think you've told it, someone has explained this to us before, but I just want to be sure I have it in my head. Once this is approved and there are incremental expenses associated with this, incremental faculty and what have you, and I know you've laid out a business plan, which I like, but at what point do we approve the budgetary allocation of funds to make this happen. It's not, this is not that, right?
This is not at that point, right. That would be at the point where we bring the full program proposal to the board for approval.
Okay, and once we do that, we are making a decision at that point to add that to the budget, correct? And then we,
We would be making a commitment, yes.
okay, I just want to be sure we're not approving things without also approving the commensurate funding for
Right.
those things, so.
We were only approving the notification letter, that's it.
Today we are,
Today.
right,
That's
and I'm
correct,
sorry,
today.
I'm just making sure that I understand it. Once we approve a program, we also are approving the commensurate, funding,
Funding.
but we're not doing that today,
Correct,
thank you.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Kay, roll call.
Geist,
Aye.
Harper,
Aye.
Oakley, Stites,
Aye.
Van Hooser,
Aye.
Wilmore,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay, so we're up to agenda item number 8, which is just the announcement of future board meetings. And 2018 will be a board meeting on March the 22nd, June the 26th, September the 13th, and December the 6th. I know those are far out. Hopefully we can maintain those dates. I know things may change, but we'll try to stick with that as best we can. Agenda item number 9 is other business, and I have one item on the agenda. And do we have a mobile microphone? Can we do this up here instead of at the podium? I hate having my back to the people there. I saw a microphone. Nick, would you come forward, please? Just to make a brief introduction here, Nick was our very first student representative on the Board of Trustees. And I don't want to speak for you, but Nick actually will be finishing up his academic career here this month.
This week?
This week?
Yeah.
Okay. So he won't be back with us in the spring. We actually are scheduled to have a new student representative, I think will be in March. So we'll make that decision in March. But anyway, Nick, you have done an outstanding job. Thank you for representing the student body. I know it's a bit intimidating, but I never saw you hesitate to speak up and say your mind and speak from the students, and that's really what we need to have. So anyway, we have a resolution, and this is a resolution that needs to be voted on by the full board. I'll try to read it all without my glasses. So it says, whereas it is fitting that Tennessee Tech University pay tribute to a man who has contributed to the advancement of higher education while serving as a member of the inaugural Tennessee Tech Board of Trustees and as a member of the board's Academic and Student Affairs Committee in 2017. And whereas he has been part of Tennessee Tech's Student Government Association, where he first served as a freshman senator and later as the association's vice president and attended Tennessee Intercollegiate State Legislature. Whereas he has been active in organizations and leadership on campus and in national and international honor societies, and whereas he has completed a cooperative education program in research and development and internships with industry leaders, as well as a research internship with the National Science Foundation. Therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Trustees and Tennessee Tech University that we hereby honor and commend Nick Russell for demonstrating the highest standards of excellence while enrolled as a student at Tennessee Tech and while serving with distinction on the Tennessee Tech Board of Trustees. Can we have a round of applause? So, before I give this to you, I mean, we have to vote. It may not pass.
Right.
So do we have a motion?
I'll move that with great pleasure.
Do we have a second?
Second the motion with great pleasure.
Do I have to do a roll call?
Yes.
Okay, let's do a roll call
Yes,
vote,
Apparently so.
please.
Geist,
Aye.
Harper,
Aye.
Oakley, Stites,
Aye.
Van Hooser,
Aye.
Captain Wilmore,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
7 ayes.
Motion carried, barely. So now you can Nick, would you like to say a few words, please?
I'll say something.
I've never known you to turn that down, so.
Well, so thank you all. I mean, this is really beautiful. It's kind of wild once you get to the end and you look back, like how far you've come in just 4.5 years from a freshman to a senior. It's kind of mind-boggling. But first, I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank you all. So you gave me the opportunity, selected me for this position over other great candidates, and it means a lot. Sorry I couldn't stay with you longer, but the period I have had has been really impactful. I've learned a lot from each of the board members, both individually and collectively. I think it's going to help me both personally and my career. This university's meant a lot to me. It's where I got married, had 2 children. It's been my home, and I've grown so much. And it's where I get to start a great career as I move back to Chattanooga. I really got my dream job thanks to Tennessee Tech, and I know can compete nationally, internationally, and I have like 50 great years of a career thanks to this institution. I'm really optimistic about the future of the university thanks to this board. And every year when I come back to homecoming, the campus will keep getting better, the community will keep getting better, thanks to the work that you guys will keep doing in the future. I wanted to give just like a small charge to you all. Not that you need it, but I know sometimes the work of policies is mundane. But what other opportunity do you have to make the lives of 10 or 11,000 young people better every day? I think this is a great opportunity, and I hope you all cherish just how much this place means to all the students who are here. So thanks again for the opportunity to serve, for working with me for the last 8 months. And being part of this board has been really meaningful as my senior year has come to a close. Being part of this has kind of helped hone in just what exactly this university's meant to me and what I hope I can give to it in the future. So thank you all. This is really beautiful, and hope to see some of you on Saturday when I graduate.
Nick, thank you so much again. I mean, you've done an outstanding job. How do I turn this off? I'm not good with these electronic things. Sorry. So anyway, just a few brief comments for myself, if you don't mind. Dr. Oldham, first, I wanted to thank you for the lighting of the quad. Thank you. I think, events like that are very student-centric, rather than, I don't know, just focusing on alumni or faculty, is much, much appreciated. And I think that's a step in the right direction. And centering things around the students is where we all need to be. So thank you very much. Second comment, too, I wanted to make is that this morning, maybe some of you don't know, but we had breakfast with the Senate. And I just wanted to acknowledge Christy and thank you. I think this was your idea originally. We should have done it sooner. And I just want to reiterate that I think it's very important that the board listen to and work with the Faculty Senate, and that is the organization that it should be done with as the voted-in representatives of the faculty. And I just wanted to give you, I guess, my dedication that we'll continue to do that and look for those opportunities. So, given that, I think we have lunch awaiting. Is there anything else, Dr. Oldham? And just one comment, Dr. Fleming was out today. I think she's ill, and just send good thoughts her way. Anyway, we missed her today. Thank you all very much. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say thanks to the board, and I hope everybody has a wonderful holiday season, and thank you for all your efforts to help us here on campus.
Thank you. We are adjourned.